Welcome back, everyone. For today's video, we have day 2 of FIDE Candidates 2026. Hikaru Nakamura playing with the black pieces versus Esipenko with white. So let's start with this game. We start with c4, the English opening, and this is going to transpose into a Catalan structure. So we get e6 and g3, French to the bishop, d5, bishop to g2, knight to f6, knight to f3, c5, c takes on d5, and now we have a slightly different move here. The most common move is to take here with the pawn, e takes on d5. Hikaru has something different in mind, knight takes on d5. Okay, trying to confuse the opponent. Let's castle, bishop to e7, d4, c takes on d4, knight takes back, castle, queen b3, and everything here has been played before. Knight to c6, knight takes back, b takes on c6, e4, okay, the knight has to retreat, knight to f6, and for the first time in the game, we have a novelty. So, the most common move here, rook d1. Then the queen moves, the game continues, but Esipenko goes for this move, h3. Okay, so now we have a game. Black has to figure out how to develop the queen side, right? For example, we can play queen b6, bishop a6, and the game continues. So we get bishop to a6, rook d1, the queen has to be moved, queen to b6, now bishop to e3. The question here, I think this is an interesting analysis. Can we trade queens? Yeah, it's actually fine. We can trade queens. A takes, they take back. Bishop to b5, for example, knight c3, rook a to c1, oh sorry, a6, just consolidating the bishop, and rook a to c1 is fine. This line is fine. But now what happens in the game, also excellent choice. Bishop to c5, keeping pieces on the board. Now b takes on c5, queen takes, and now there is this offer, do you take this queen? Now it's terrible idea to trade queens. You don't want to trade queens in this position because once we take, oh my god, here, they take back with the knight. And white has very easy ideas to play this game. So e6, for example, e5, for example, rook a to d8. Let's say we trade rooks, they can play e5. Now this pawn is in trouble, the knight is in trouble. Yeah, we don't want to trade queens in this position. White is actually better. So let's go back here. Hikaru goes for the best choice. Queen b6. Let's avoid the trade of queens. And now the knight develops. c5. c5 is stopping the knight, right? Maybe the knight was going to go here and then here. So we're stopping the knight. And then b3. Rook a to d8. Perfect. Knight to c4. And I'm happy to see this with black, sorry, because I'm gonna snatch the knight and enter this endgame. So we get d5, rook a to c1, putting pressure on the pawn. So okay, we have to trade here. Now, here we have to deal with the two pawns, right? The two connected pawns, and my split pawns are not great. So Hikaru understands this and pushes a5. Okay, rook to c1. Hitting the pawn, I have to protect it. Rook c8, queen c3, queen c7, a bit of maneuvering, h6, rook c2, d6, queen e3, queen d8, okay, rook d2, queen b6, bishop to f1, king g7. Everything here has been perfect play. So rook c6, rook c2, and the first inaccuracy for Hikaru was c4. Which to me looks, yeah, maybe a bit dubious, but if you understand here, so after the trade of queens, this is what happens. They are gonna be an extra pawn here on this side of the board. The best move in the position, instead of c4, was to play rook d6. And it's counterintuitive, right? Because it's like, wait, they're just gonna win the pawn. Okay, but I can take this pawn here. If they take, I take. The game continues, and I actually don't have any problems because this is 1 versus 1. I'm about to take this pawn, so I have no problems with black. And just to show you here, if you're thinking, wait, can they take back with the rook? No, they can't, because this blunders this fork. So even when the queen moves, okay, I'm gonna take the rook. They take here. Now I should be slightly better, right? Okay, that was the only, but other than that, everything was nearly perfect play. Queen takes on b6, rook takes, b takes on c4, knight takes back on e4. So we have an endgame of 4 versus 3 on this side of the board, and 2 versus 1. This should be a perfect play. This should be a draw with perfect play. Rook to e2, f5, f3, knight e6. Here the engine thinks knight c5 was a slightly better square for the knight. We're gonna lose this pawn anyway, but let's say I can just take here, and yeah, this is just a draw, right? This is a draw. Okay, knight to d6, and I'm gonna snatch this bishop anyway. So I don't understand the engine sometimes. So rook to b4, okay, rook takes on a5, rook takes on c4, and this is a draw with perfect play anyway. Yeah, white has the pass pawn on this side of the board, but once I can get the rook here, the rook has no way of getting out of this file, right? Getting out of this file, and at the same time pushing this pawn. So this is a draw with perfect play. It doesn't matter what you do. Rook to c3, king f2, rook c2 check, rook c3, king e2, rook c2 check, king d3, and both players are trying to play for a win. So white allows this infiltration of the rook. Hikaru is going to grab these 2 pawns. Okay, 1, and now we get 2. And white is going to try to push out the king down the board and go for some kind of attack, right? Rook to e7 check, king to e8. And here we have to be careful if we're playing black, because this structure, now if you move something like this, now this is checkmate. This is mating 1. So you have to be careful if you're playing black, but Hikaru understands this. Okay, they have the position. I just have to move it. King to d8, king goes to f6, and they agree to a draw. All right, in the open section, all of the games were draws. There was a Petrov's defense, a French defense, but everything was pretty much stable. There was no huge mistakes or big brilliancies. I would like to show you one game from the women's section, which was insane. It was crazy. So I'm still analyzing it, but it was crazy. So we get e4, e6, d4, and d5. This is the French defense, the normal variation. Knight to d2 is one of the best ways to play against it. This is the Tarrasch variation. And okay, we get c5, knight g to f3, then c takes on d4. This is all normal moves, right? E takes on d5, queen takes on d5, and bishop to c4, queen d6. And if you are counting, black is up a pawn. Yeah, they didn't take back immediately here. So, okay. Now, knight to e4, hitting the queen. Queen to b4, given a check. Okay, knight has to retreat and protect the bishop as well. Knight to f6. Knight takes on f6, ruining the pawn structure for black. Okay. G takes on f6. Castle. Knight c6. And rook e1. Rook e1 appears to be a novelty according to the engine. Bishop to d3 is the most common move, just keeping an eye on the pawn, and everything is fine. Rook to e1, that's a new move. Okay, bishop to d7, c3. Okay, we just move the queen. C takes on d4. It's supposed to be a mistake. This is considered to be a mistake. Bishop to f1 is the best move. Now we just take the pawn. Knight to c4. So I don't understand this. Like, why? Okay, yeah, white has a little bit more activity with the knight, but you give up a second pawn. So, okay. C takes on d4. We take back with the queen. Knight to e4. And this is like where things get interesting. Bishop to e7. Just for the normal humans, why don't we just take this bishop? No, there is a check here. There is tactics. Knight takes on f6. If king moves, then rook to e4, hitting the queen. So this gets really messy, right? We cannot take this bishop, which is an interesting position. Bishop to e7, just keeping an eye on the pawn, on this check. Okay, queen to e2, avoiding the threat of queens. f5, kicking out this knight. So knight to c3, queen to g4, offering the threat of queens. The computer wanted something like this instead. Okay, queen to g4, and this shows a slight advantage for black. The computer wants this trade to happen, but okay, f3 is all good. I think it's a human move. Instead of trading queens, why would you trade queens? No. Then queen to g7. All right, going for this open file, and the idea is to put the knight here on d4, which white doesn't understand. Bishop to f4. Okay, so Kateryna, I didn't mention the name, but Kateryna made the mistake. Bishop to e3 is better, preventing this idea, right? Okay, bishop to f4, knight to d4, winning a tempo on the queen. Now queen to f2, and then this kind of crazy sacrifice. It's not that crazy, but here you have to calculate that after the queen takes, we can give a check, and now we can win the bishop. So we're winning the piece back. And knight takes on f3, the computer wants to keep the tension. Bishop to c5. It's like, okay, I'm gonna threaten this, right? Keeping the tension on the board. All right, it's all good. Queen takes on f3, queen d4, we win back the piece. Queen g3, bishop to c6. We're going to arrange our pieces. Rook a to d1, bishop f6, h3, h5. Now h4 is considered to be a mistake. Again, the computer wants this trade of pieces. But if you're down on material, why would you trade pieces like this? No, it doesn't make sense. So, okay. Now h4, bishop to rook, no, rook to d8, bishop to g5. Now, finally, this trade happens. And here there is black has a slight advantage. So the best move in the position, probably black notices, okay, my rook is hanging. I had to move it. There's a lot of pressure here. Where do you put this rook? So this happened in the game. Rook c8 makes sense. Okay, I'm still keeping an eye on this square. Best move in the position is to play a collinear move, geometry of chess. Rook d7. Yeah, if this trade happens, you're happy, it's all good, you're still winning. Okay, rook to c8 was playing the game. And now, this is where also, like, this is insane. Rook d2 is supposed to be a missed opportunity. Knight b5. Knight b5 is the move. It doesn't matter which way you take. Let's say we just take with the queen. They can sacrifice the rook. F takes on e6, and now the queen has a perpetual on the king, and it's a draw. Okay, rook to d2 happened. Now, queen goes to b4, maybe aiming for, no, actually I don't know, probably just going for the defense of this square. It's still curious to me why this move was played, queen to b4. And then the same idea, right? They sack the rook, take back, and now they have a perpetual on the king. And after a few moves, this is perpetual repetition. The game ended in a draw, but it was by no means a draw for a long period of time. Okay, guys. Now I would like to show you one move, only one move, because here we concentrate on strategy, how to attack, how to defend sometimes. So this is Anish Giri playing with the white pieces versus Fabi. I'm actually gonna switch the board. So d4, d5, c4, so queen's gambit, decline, e6, knight f3, knight e7, g3, d takes on c4, okay, bishop to g4, bishop to g2, rook to b8, a4, b6, knight f to d2, a5, knight takes on c4. Everything is fine here, right? Knight b to e3, bishop to b4, given a check, so we protect with the bishop. Bishop takes, we take back with the knight. Knight to e7, castle, castle, b4, he takes on b4, bishop takes back, c5, we have to retreat, knight to f5, and this is where you can have a winning move with white. This happened in the game, knight to b5. Okay, can you find a better move? Here in the channel we talk about pawn breaks a lot. And this is how you seize the initiative, by playing d5. d5, and then if they take here, which they kind of have to take, now queen takes on d5, my pieces are active, I have the battery of the queen and the bishop, this bishop is also great. Now I'm going to play after knight d4, okay, we can even trade here, and I'm gonna play now knight to b5, okay, this is a great square, and I also don't have to worry about this pawn, right? So just because if you're wondering here, knight to b5, okay, after d5 takes, why don't I take with the queen? Because this pawn is hanging, right? So we just have to be aware of that. Okay, now the game ended in a draw. Yeah, there's not much in this position. It was dry and there was not much to do. But yeah, it was an interesting combination, and Nishikori missed on move 16 with, instead of knight b5, he could have pushed d5 and played for the initiative. Okay, if you're interested in the standings, these are the results so far, with FIDE and Sindarov as well as Pragananda with 1.5 points, Wei Yi and Matthias Blubaum with 1, and the rest with 0.5, right? There is a long way to go. And in the women's section, if I'm not mistaken, everybody's equal with 1 point. Let me switch here to women. Now I was correct, everybody's equal in the women's section. So we're gonna get a lot more interesting chess in the next few weeks. I will see you in the next one, and take care.